You're not imagining it. You're feeling more. You're craving more quiet, more solitude, more time in nature. You're putting up with less BS. And you're wondering, is this aging or is it an awakening? Hi, my name is Mira. I'm the Neurospicy Crone. And in this video, I want to talk about conscious aging. If that's something that's of interest to you, please stick around and subscribe to the channel. So let's talk about it. Conscious aging. Consciousness is something that actually increases as we age. Consciousness is awareness. Those are two terms that mean basically the same thing. Also, spirituality. These words are interchangeable. I remember I was sitting in a workshop and the teacher wrote up on the board, consciousness equals awareness equals spirituality. And I was like, ding, that's so beautiful, because in all of these different terms, we're talking about our connection to all that is, and our presence with that, our awareness of it. Spirituality oftentimes gets mushed up with religion. And today, religion is causing some very, very serious problems in this world. Religion is the base or the force behind some really terrible things that are happening. And so even if that's our own religion or a religion that we don't practice, we tend to feel a little conflicted emotions around religion. And so when someone says spirituality, you think, oh, that means religion. But I'm here to say they are not related. Religion is a formal practice originally to help people develop a spiritual life, spiritual awareness, but has for so long been taken over by people who want to use power over others. It's been really degraded in a lot of ways. So you may have a beautiful religious life, religious practice, and more people are more conflicted about religion. So that makes spirituality a little bit like, well, I'm not sure. I feel so conflicted about religion. Do I also feel conflicted around spirituality? And you can have a very rich and beautiful, meaningful spiritual life and spiritual practices not associated with any particular religion. So that frees us up to explore consciousness, awareness, and spirituality, whatever that means to you. Spirituality is an individual relationship between yourself and the great spirit that moves in all things. God, goddess, whatever you conceive of as the source of all things, the universe, whatever it is to you. And so consciousness does definitely increase as we age. But we live in a society that is really youth obsessed, where your physical looks are more important than your character or your experience or your wisdom. But we're here to change that story. We're here to be the authors of a new story of what it means to be aging. And so in a youth obsessed, productivity focused culture, as we age, we're naturally going to come into a little bit of conflict and a little bit of an identity. I don't want to say crisis, because it's not a crisis. It's a natural evolution. And to recognize that this is how my life was before, and this is how it's going to be next. It's a new chapter. And we can move into that next chapter with a lot of awareness, a lot of consciousness, and we can develop daily practices that support that consciousness. We can age consciously. We can age intentionally. There's a beautiful structure from the Vedas. The Vedas are like the original wisdom books from India. Also not associated with any religion. That also gets mixed up with religion, but it's really just a book on living. Books, it's a whole system of knowledge. It's incredible. The term Ayurveda means knowledge of life. So Veda means knowledge. This is the knowledge of how to be human. It's incredible. And in the Vedas, they talk about the 4 stages of life. And when we understand these 4 stages, we can understand where we are in this stage of life and really recognize that everything is just the way it should be. I don't have to try to keep trying to be in a previous stage of my life. I can move fully into the next stage of my life. So the first stage is like, 0 to 12. Kids, they're playing. They shouldn't be really like hard on anything. They should just be playing and developing and experiencing life. And then 12 to 24 years old is really that hard focus on academics, not just academics, but studying, learning about life, learning a craft, a trade, a skill, learning a body of knowledge, oftentimes traditionally passed down from the older adults in your life. Then from 24 to 48, that's a big phase, is the householder. You're having kids, you're building your career, you're accumulating material possessions and wealth. And that's a very normal and healthy stage. However, in modern Western society, we're kind of obsessed with this stage. Like, do more, have more, accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. But by the time you kind of drift into your early 50s, maybe even late 40s, it just doesn't have as much meaning for you. And for women, there's a real hormonal reason for this. Like, our hormones shift, and it actually changes our worldview. Hormones like estrogen and oxytocin, these are hormones that really compel us at a chemical level in our body to care for others and to care what others think about us and to be socially connected. Those hormones actually decrease in our body. And along with that chemical change, we also decrease our need to worry so much what other people think about us or to be so focused on caregiving others. So it's a real natural biochemical process in our bodies that's occurring. And as we move into our 50s, we become forest dwellers. No wonder you want to spend so much time in the woods, right? I feel like I need to spend a lot of time in the woods every day. And that's because I'm in the forest dweller phase of my life. This is where we start to detach from our titles and our positions and our focus on productivity. And we start to step back and give ourselves some space. We start to gain more time abundance. And so as we move into this forest dweller stage, when you're feeling like, I don't really want to go to that party, I just want to spend the afternoon in the woods. And then we feel guilty about it, or we feel like, what's wrong with me? Or why can't I keep up anymore? But to recognize that, oh yeah, I'm a forest dweller. I get to go spend time in the woods. I don't have to go to that party, And so it's just a shift in attitude and a shift in understanding that this is a beautiful process of aging. And then after the forest dweller stage of life, that chapter where you're really focused more on spirituality, you're naturally more interested in self-inquiry and personal development and spiritual development. So again, this conscious aging is natural. It's a biochemical part of becoming this age. And so are we nurturing our spiritual life? Are we expressing our creativity in a way that helps us relate to the divine within us? It's like having a devotion to our own divinity at this stage of our life. And it's okay that we weren't doing it when we were in our 30s and early 40s, because that was a time of material acquisition, being a householder, shopping at Target for things in our house. Like, that's the phase. That's okay. But it's not where we're at anymore. So we don't need to continue to try to hold ourselves in a previous chapter of our life's book. And then after the forest dweller is the sannyasin, where you are a renunciate. You're completely releasing the material world, which is what happens at the end of life. And so it's not a big shock at the end of life. It's not a huge resistance. There's not a lot of regret and remorse, because you've been living those end years of your life, which we, of course, never know which exactly years in our life that is. But we're intentionally releasing. We're intentionally letting go of the material world So that transition into the non-physical is natural and perhaps even exulting. There's a big movement around the dying process, and it relates back to this original called ashrama, these 4 stages of life written thousands of years ago in India that are still very much true today. They're biochemically true within us. So being more conscious of aging and exploring consciousness in your life as an older person is all very much aligned with the natural flow of human existence. So we have to kind of unplug from the dominant culture that's saying, do more. Or when you stop producing, all of a sudden you're worthless. You're retired. Well, that's not true at all. As a forest dweller, you're still a mentor to younger people. And that's why building your own income stream as an older person can be really valuable, because you're taking all of that knowledge and that wisdom and you're sharing it with others in your community. That's a very natural part of your stage. So you're leaving that big career, which may have been satisfying, which may have felt good to have those accolades, that title, that income, and it's a natural time to move on to the next thing. So if you are interested in autonomous stream of income, I have a wonderful aligned income collective that I'll link to below, and you can explore that and see if that's a good fit for you. You may be continuing to work, or you may just be like full on done working, but you're still mentoring others. You're still spending time with your grandkids. You might be volunteering in your community, and that's all very natural. And so when we're aging, also, if you have a sensitive nervous system, that sensitivity increases as we age as well. So it's even more important that we care for our nervous systems in a conscious way too. There's several reasons that our sensitivity increases as we age. And one, again, comes back to hormones. Our hormones change and we're a little more delicate, a little more refined, which is very supportive of a spiritual practice. Not so good for out there playing roller derby in the world. And so that's another reason we naturally want to withdraw, because our sensitivity increases due to that hormonal change is one reason. Another reason is that our nervous system is like a Xerox machine, where every experience we have, every emotion we experience, every thought we have, every relationship we're involved in, every experience we have is imprinted onto our mind and our nervous system. And by the time we've been around for 50 years or more, there's a lot of imprint on our nervous system. I kind of think of it like you got to change the filter in your house, because that filter becomes full of dust and you got to put a clean filter in. So that means going on retreat. That means having a day of silence every week or 3 days of silence every month. You want to clear out your sensory impressions and let your nervous system process and release a lifetime of impressions. And so to do that on a daily basis becomes even more important, that nervous system hygiene, when we're taking care of our nervous system. There's a really cool book called The Body Keeps Score by Basil van der Kolk, and he's a big leading thinker in the world of trauma and how trauma lives in our body. And so you might have had a big trauma, an assault from another person, or a car accident, or a natural disaster. We also experience a lot of micro trauma throughout our lives. And so unless we're consciously releasing that and doing something to shut it, it is going to give us a more sensitive nervous system. And so just to be aware that aging with a sensitive nervous system is a real gift, because it's like now you're driving around in a Maserati, like a very finely tuned machine. It doesn't handle the bumps and the dirt roads like a big old Chevy truck, because your nervous system isn't a big old Chevy truck. Your nervous system is like a Maserati. It's like cutting diamonds. There's a real fine tuning art to it. And as we age, we want to be more conscious of the input that we're getting and how we're processing that input and how we're buffering ourselves from that input, whether that's socializing or relationships, loud noises. It does feel too much because our nervous systems are becoming more sensitive. And then also to intentionally move into some kind of a spiritual practice. So do you currently have a spiritual practice? If so, please leave it in the comments. I meditate for 5 minutes every day, or I always take a walk in nature without listening to anything, and I'm really paying attention to the birds around me and whatever else is going on. That is a spiritual practice. Being in nature and being fully aware of in relationship with nature is a spiritual practice. Walking through the park with our headphones on is not connecting us to nature. So what is your spiritual practice? If you're looking to be in a community where you can cultivate a spiritual practice, where you can cultivate your creativity, which is a beautiful way to be in relationship with the divine. If you're looking for a way to become devoted to your own divinity, then I would love to invite you to join the Crone's Nest. It's a new online group that is just forming where older women want to age consciously. Spicy, neurodiverse, highly sensitive women in the third stage of life, where we can find out what other people our age are doing and support each other in this beautiful chapter of our lives, the forest dweller phase of our lives. So if that sounds interesting to you, I will leave a link in the description below and you can check that out. We would love to have you join us. The foundation of this Crone's Nest is a monthly new moon mindset. So every month at the beginning of the moon cycle, we'll look at our lives. Like, what do we want to let go of? What do we want to tweak? What do we want to add? So that you can gradually and gracefully craft a lifestyle for yourself that's very much in line with who you are and the chapter that you're currently living in your life. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if this is the kind of conversation you're interested in having, please subscribe to this channel. I'd love for you to comment and say hello, and also share this video with anyone else you know who's moving into this forest dweller phase of life, or is just discovering that, yeah, I do have a nervous system that's very sensitive and finely tuned. There's nothing wrong with me. I just need to know how to drive the particular vehicle that I've been given in this lifetime. Then please share this video with them as well. Thank you so much for being here.